Today on Law Weekly, we look closely at the forthcoming elections of the Nigerian Bar Association. We speak to the Electoral Committee Chairman, Mr. Okey Amaechi, SAN. We also feature the reactions and comments of two past presidents of the bar, Chief OCJ Okocha and Chief Wole Olanipekun. That's the lineup for the program. I am Shola Sheyeli. Details come up shortly. The NBA elections have been fixed for the 14th and 15th of July 2014, but one issue that always generates reactions is the issue of the electoral delegates and the guidelines for the process. 14 offices are up for grabs, but the big one is usually that of the position of the NBA president. It becomes even more interesting this year because 4 senior advocates are contesting that position. To understand the rules by which the positions will be filled, Law Weekly spoke with the chairman of the Electoral Committee, Mr. Okey Amaechi, a senior advocate of Nigeria, whose law practice operates largely out of Abia State. Channels TV's Treasure Eze began by asking him how the committee arrived at the electoral guidelines to be used for the elections.
The NBA, following the Constitution, has set up an electoral committee. That committee was set up in Pt.1 in March. And we have since been inaugurated. We have, in keeping with the constitution of NBA, published guidelines and timetable for the election. So, and candidates are already, I want to believe those who are interested in contesting for the office of NBA have already submitted a nomination because nominations closed by 31st May. So, and the guidelines are strictly distilled from the NBA Constitution. You find that somebody who's running for an office will now have to cover 107 branches all over the federation. And we notice that candidates, contrary to the provisions of the Constitution, were now sharing out money. It was no longer a secret that for you to aspire to office of President of NBA, you must have up to 200 to 300 million. And the association frowned against it. That no candidate should campaign, go around the branches, just to curtail this expenditure. But you find that it's a little clear to say that candidates who are running for election should not go around and present themselves.
The electoral chairman also answered questions as to the composition of the delegates register and how it was compiled.
Yes, in the past, the General Secretary used to handle that. Branches will send delegates list to the General Secretary and he will compile it. But you find that some constitution. So now, because of complaints in the past, in fact, some are threatening to go to court in the past elections. So my committee decided to follow the constitution strictly. And the constitution is very clear that the electoral committee is in charge of everything about the election, from beginning to the end. So if the committee is in charge of everything from beginning to the end, then where does the General Secretary come in? And I'll make sure that anybody who votes this time is qualified.
He says the guidelines mandates his committee to determine that delegates are properly chosen, hence the requirements for receipts of branch dues.
The Constitution says every branch is entitled to 5 delegates. But there must be delegates who have paid their practicing fees and with their branch dues paid as and when due. You understand? As and when due is 31st March. Then they will also be entitled to 2 deserving elders from their branch. Deserving, you underline deserving. Because you have some elders who have done nothing in the branch or who have taken NBA to court or who have been indicted in one way or the other. But in addition to this time, if that branch is a big branch that has more than 100, and they can show that 100 members of that branch have paid their practicing fees as and when due, that is on or before 31st March, they will be entitled to 1 more delegate. And so on. So if you have up to 1,000 members, 10 delegates. But nobody is quarreling about that. But what they are quarreling is that in addition to showing practicing fees, that such members do not It is that to show branch dues. You know, your branch dues receipts, which even candidates contesting the office must show. The constitution says that the committee should determine that they are members of that branch. For you to be a member, you must pay your branch dues. And it's a sort of unified bylaws. Almost all the branches have that provision. You understand? That's very well we know you're a member. But they said, no, we should use the partisan fee teller code, which bears branch code. We said, no, you cannot know a member from that. Because a lawyer who is passing through your branch in order to beat the 31st March may walk into the bank and pay. And the teller will be given will bear the code of that branch. It doesn't make him a member of that branch. So we said, don't worry, just show us that these 100 people, in addition to the practice fees, have their branch due receipts paid as and when due. Because the constitution said the committee should determine their members of the branch. And this is the way we have chosen to determine it. So if any branch sends its list without attaching the branch dues about those 100 members, so we could disqualify them.
But what are the actions that could disqualify candidates?
We cannot, in all fairness, disqualify any candidate who goes about campaigning, because it's not one of those things in the constitution for disqualifying a candidate.
But we meant that it has been banned. Tours, campaigns.
But they have been touring now. They have been touring. Last weekend they were in about all of them. But they say they know very well. You know, they are lawyers. They know it's not one of those inspectors in the constitution for disqualifying a candidate. And what my committee intends to do, that we have warned them. There are things spelled out in the constitution for disqualifying a candidate. Like if anyone appears before your channel television and begins to eulogize himself, we will disqualify him. That one is in the constitution. Or even if he sends an agent to do it for him, we'll disqualify him. Or he goes about sharing money and we'll catch him, we'll disqualify him. That one is in the constitution. They know it, they avoid that one.
How will you know?
You mean how we know?
Yes.
We won't use police to know, but you find that if you are campaigning, you have opponents.
The electoral chairman assures the candidates that the elections would be fair. He advised the candidates to obey the guidelines.
Keep within the guidelines and make sure that they are properly nominated. For instance, some bandy about what they call letter of good standing from branches. It's not, we don't know what it is going by the constitution. For what the constitution says, yeah, practicing fee, receipts for candidates paid for the last 3 years, each of them as and when due. Their branch dues for candidates. Their branch dues paid as and when due for the, and then that person nominating you must be as qualified as yourself. That's assuming we said for this office you should be 15 years post-court and should have this and this and that. Then anybody nominating you must be as qualified as yourself in all the particulars. So I've told them, be careful so that you may not be disqualified on this technical ground, and there's no room to say I'm sympathizing with you. By the time we open nominations, we'll find that instead of attaching brand dues, you're attaching letter of good standing, which means nothing to us because we don't have it in the constitution.
Now, there are groups of lawyers who have issues with the electoral guidelines. One of such is the Nigerian Bar Association Lagos branch. Their complaints are contained in this next report.
Following a lengthy debate arising from a motion by octogenarian Patunji Gomez, members of the branch unanimously rejected stipulations in the election guidelines requiring branches to submit bank tellers as evidence of payment of annual practicing fee as at April 1, 2014. In a resolution signed by the branch chairman Alex Moka and the publicity secretary Abdul Rashid Ibrahim, the branch says such requirement is unnecessary as full and detailed information of all lawyers and all branch members who have paid practicing fee is already in the custody of the NBA National Secretariat. The members also say the requirement in the election guidelines which mandates every NBA registered branch to submit receipts as evidence of payment of branch dues and levies as at April 1, 2014. They said that the requirement is not only unconstitutional, as it is not contained in the NBA Constitution of 2009, but is a ploy to disenfranchise branches and voters. The Premier Bar also took a swipe at the emergence of some new branches during the election period, warning that no branch inaugurated in 2014 shall be allowed to send delegates to vote at the 2014 NBA elections. Worried that the guidelines concerning the publication of the delegates' register touches on the integrity of the electoral process and would jeopardize credible elections, the members then resolved that not only should evidence of payment of practicing fee be published and made available to branches and the Electoral Committee, the entire list of qualified voters should be published by the Electoral Committee no later than 1 week before the date of the election. The members also insisted that independent auditors be engaged to conduct the elections.